I know I promised I wouldn't do that anymore, so hello again. Welcome to an experiment in writing number 9, Final Conflicts Worth Reading. Hi there. I just can't help myself. Final Conflicts Worth Reading. A lot of the challenges that I see when I'm reading someone else's work, and sometimes in my own, is you have these incredible protagonists and antagonists, and they're kind of going back and forth either with each other or with someone else who the protagonist wants to protect, the antagonist wants to destroy to get at the protagonist. Anyway, and before I forget, we're listening to Alistair Fraser right now, in case you can hear it. Very, very gifted Scottish fiddler, violinist, fiddler, who actually, before he became known as Alistair Fraser, was an oil engineer, worked on the big oil rigs out in the North Atlantic, North Sea. And that's where he would practice his fiddling, because there's nothing else to do, right? Nice to have isolation. Reminds me of Around Midnight. Anyway, and it's raining, so you may hear that too. We're gonna go back to Empty Sky. Why bother to have really well-developed antagonists and really well-developed protagonists and then have it over in a second? Now, in reality, and someday I'm going to do action scenes, in reality, and one of the great martial arts movie stars in Chinese cinema, also an American cinema, he had a TV show for a while, Sammo Hung, in an interview about real martial arts versus choreographed dancing martial arts, he said a real fight between real martial artists, if it lasts 15 seconds, that's a long time. But you can't do a 15-second fight scene in a movie, because what are you going to do? It's an action movie, right? Okay. But in a novel, the final act may be very quick, but the buildup and how many levels, how many times does that thing have to repeat? You know, it's kind of like the creature who never dies at the end of the movie, comes up out of the water again, or, you know, bursts out of the closet again, whatever. Well, gets irritating after a while. You get to a point where you go, yeah, he's got 2 more in him. He's got 2 more. Got 1 more in him. Okay, good. So anyway, in the original version of Empty Sky, the 2016 version, Law, Jin, see, the final conflict is a reckoning, and it's not terribly long. It's about 6 pages, maybe 5.5 pages long. Now, there's other chapters right before what in this version of the novel is chapter 39, A Reckoning, which also have to deal with the final conflict. Basically, chapter 38, Kolodny, Johnson, and Tibbs. But that's pretty much it. So it's not long. It's not really involved. You get some extra denouement with chapter 40, Shem and Jamie. But if you want to stretch it all the way out, you've got maybe 30 pages stretched out over 3 chapters before everything finally wraps up and you get to the end of the story, okay? And that was one of the big problems that I had with that version of Empty Sky. The final conflict, the antagonist, or Opangiosi, which I've mentioned in previous experiments, he was one nasty son of a bitch. And I really, in the previous version, I wanted there to be a good, strong conflict. I didn't know how to do it. Remember, I had mentioned way back that my writing skills weren't up to it back then. Some people may think they're still not up to it. Fine, let me know. But anyway, the final conflict, basically, because I didn't know what to do, I invoked God. Pangiosi basically becomes a super demon. Not really worthwhile. Okay, so now we're going to go into the 2023 version. The Reckoning chapter, which I believe was 38, 39, and the previous version is now chapter 53. The Reckoning chapter all by itself is 12 pages. There are chapters leading up to it. So we begin basically with the final conflict, now covering probably 70 pages of the novel. The reason for that is 65, 70 pages of the novel. The reason for that is there are now several characters who are fully realized in the novel, not only just Jamie, but some other main characters, not the primary characters, but main characters who contribute to the story. Each of them has to have their final moment in the story. And each of them has to contribute to the final conflict. They have to bring something, or else why are they in the story? Why have them along? It's basically, who's going to keep on loading the rifle while somebody's shooting at the enemy? You need somebody there to feed the bullets, feed the shells, keep the ammo going. So the final conflict in the new version spans many, many chapters, several chapters, let's put it that way. And each individual who was on the side of quote unquote good now has their moment to make their contribution. So there's this rolling, if you will. Okay, so character one, not the main protagonist, Jamie, they have their moment, which means there's an antagonist of theirs that needs to be met and have their moment. Second main character moment. I'm going off the screen here. Second main character moment. Their antagonist. Whoa, get it back over here. Next one, theirs. Next one, theirs. Blah, blah, blah. They all have to blend together. One of the things that happens, I hope, when I do this, is that the reader, no matter which character they most closely identified with, they're engaged and they want to have a series of successions. They want to have a series of successes, I should say, and each be successful in succession. There you go. I speak for a living. Did you notice that? No, I don't actually write for a living. Anyway. So you have all of these moments, if you will, each contributing, and that makes the final conflict worth reading. And also gives you some sustainability across characters, across pages, across story, across plot points. So the reader mentally, I hope they're not doing this, but the reader is mentally checking things off. Yeah, okay, good. Yeah, okay, that character's okay, that character's okay, that character's done. And as a technical point, with each character's closure, if you will, you basically have a possibility of a spinoff. Not necessarily a series, but, something going on. Now it's going to be their story. Anne McCaffrey does this a lot. Now it's their story. Now it's the next person's story. Now it's the person after that, their story. So craft a final conflict well so that the reader stays engaged throughout each character's contribution to the final conflict. Make each one worth reading, of course, by having tension, by having the conflict and the resolution of the conflict. Never make it that easy. They always have to have a reason to be in that conflict. Is it a physical challenge, a spiritual challenge, an emotional challenge, a psychological challenge? And those are all done, by the way. I I've done them all in the new version of Empty Sky. The Earl Pangiosi character is not, he doesn't become godlike, a super demon now. However, everything that was in the story before, and you may remember I really put a lot of backstory. Now his entire backstory plays a part in that final conflict. And I don't want to give away a spoiler, but there's a reason for everything that we found out about Earl Pangiosi. We needed to find that out for what happens in the final conflict. And I won't give a spoiler away, but let me know what you think about it. So there you go. The reason to have final conflicts, the reason to have them worth reading, keep the reader engaged, make sure all the things are sewn together so that there's no holes, no lapses. All the characters have their moment. And then presented at the end, the denouement, the close of the novel or story, so that the reader can go, yeah, okay, they're satisfied. They're not wondering, what about this? What about that? You want readers, by the way, to want more, but you want them to be satisfied with the story they read. When I say you want them to want more, in my case, I always want to know what happens to those characters next series. And that's what makes it interesting for the reader to go worthwhile to get the next book in the series or of yours. Hope that was useful. And eventually I'm going to get to action scenes. I swear to God I will. Okay, we're going to close this one down. There's the stop recording button.